Hi, and welcome to Finding Your Way Through Therapy. I'm your host, Steve Bissell. The goal of this podcast is to demystify therapy, what can happen in therapy, and the wide array of conversations you can have in therapy. I also talk to guests about therapy, their experience with therapy, and how psychology is present in many places in their lives. I also share personal stories. So please join me on this journey about therapy. Hi, and welcome to episode 67 of Finding Your Way Through Therapy. I'm Steve Bissell. If you haven't listened to episode 66 yet, please do so. Pat Rice and Carrie Keegan had amazing things to say. I love the connection with the whales, and if you haven't listened to it, you'll get it once you listen to it, so please go back and listen to that. But episode 67 is actually about a chapter in my book. The chapter is Look Up to the Spirit in Your Life. The reason why I wanted to do that is twofold. Number one, I have actually read my chapter in about a year. You know, you write a book, you read it once or twice, and then you kind of leave it on the side. So I reread it because I knew I was going to do this episode. But more importantly, I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that I wrote a book and that it is available on any good platform such as Amazon or Barnes & Nobles. And I would love for you to go and check it out. So when I wrote that chapter, it was interesting because I was going through my own spiritual crisis, in the sense that I was going through a divorce. And when you have a spiritual practice, no matter what it is, you kind of get through it with some of the belief systems that you have. And Buddhism really helped me. And Buddhism is obviously not a religion, it is principles. And the Four Noble Truths are probably one of the things that really helped me through that. And the Four Noble Truths, the most important one to me was the first one was that life is suffering. The second one being suffering is due to desire. And learning to use the principles of the Eightfold Path really helped me get through that divorce. We weren't having a very contentious divorce by any means. In fact, I would give a lot of credit to my ex-wife in regards to being as less contentious as she possibly could, and vice versa. We were trying to do what was best for our kids, but my spiritual life really took a hit. Not because of anything that was happening with her, but more about my own belief system. I go back in the chapter, talk about when I grew up in Quebec, where Catholicism was the main religion. In fact, I mentioned how my first principal was actually a nun. And I go back to what Buddhism has helped me with. And that's always very beneficial to me to think about. What I feel this chapter did for a lot of people was to talk about different belief systems and how they can coexist. I even talk about how not having a belief system is a belief system. So I would encourage you to go check out the book in regards to that. But I want to go back to another thing that really has helped me and shaped my mind in being able to do one thing at a time, which is meditation. In the book, I do mention that meditation is to empty your mind, but it's also noting what goes through your mind when you're meditating and what's bothering you and what's difficult for you. So I would definitely encourage you guys to look at it if you're curious about Buddhist principles, knowing a little bit about my upbringing in the Catholic religion, as well as just being curious about how your spirituality can help you guide through your life. I even mentioned how we go through it in therapy when people bring up spirituality, if they do. So I hope you go ahead and go check it out. Episode 68 is with a friend who finally agreed to be on my podcast, and it's an exclusive because Courtney Romanowski has never been on a podcast, so I get the first one. And you will also hear Stephanie Simpson, who has been on the show before, and will be able to have a great conversation on dance, mindfulness. We're going to talk about mind, body, spirit. We're going to talk about a bunch of different stuff, so I hope you join us then. Please like, subscribe, or follow this podcast on your favorite platform. A glowing review is always helpful. And as a reminder, this podcast is for information, educational, and entertainment purposes. If you're struggling with a mental health or substance abuse issue, please reach out to a professional counselor or therapist for consultation.